What is up, everybody? Retro Gaming Guy here. So I've got Bill here from A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, which I'm a big fan of. I actually recently got to know you through actually Joe over at Perfect Storm Gaming, and I see Perfect Storm Gaming right over here in the comments here. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as well. And I want to make sure your audio is coming through and everything on your end. Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right, and you guys and everybody out there can hear us. Okay, good.
Hearing us okay? Everything's good? Shout out to Perfect Storm Gaming. What's going on, y'all?
There we go. And I like that we're back in stream. I've gone back and forth between OBS and StreamYard a lot lately, okay. So I'm back over here for the Friday ones because I can bring people's comments up. I just think that it's
nice.
a better vibe when we can do that, and I can kind of pinpoint people. So
yep, absolutely.
What's up, Broke Daddy Gamer? So I do have a giveaway tonight too, and I believe I pinned that. I had to go into YouTube the long way and pin that, so you guys can see that up at the top, I think. I can't see it on my end, so I'll take your word for it if you guys confirm that.
I see it was there a second ago. I mean, okay. I don't have it pinned for me. I'm not on the YouTube side, so
same.
Do it.
So
yeah.
All right, guys. So you have a podcast, and I've recently listened to quite a few episodes. And give us a rundown of what you do over there and what your goal was when you set out to get involved podcasting.
Yeah. Man, I've been doing this talking to a microphone thing forever. It feels like forever, at least. So the show is called The Gamer Looks at 40. It's a nostalgic look at the history of video games through the stories of the people who lived it. That's kind of like the tagline for it. So that's every awesome. Episode could be up to 14 different people. I interview people all throughout the year. I have 2 editors who help me cut up the interviews into pieces. And I throw those little pieces into topic buckets. And when a bucket gets full, I release it. And that's what awesome. You get in like one episode, you can get up to like 14 different people telling stories about a certain game or topic or franchise. And it's really cool to hear all these different voices talking about a similar thing. And sometimes it's silly and fun. And sometimes people get into some stuff, and talk about games that help them get through periods of their lives that were challenging. And and honestly, the idea came to me. I was in the shower, as all good things happen in the shower, I suppose.
Absolutely.
It's when your brain is the most lucid, I think. And I was thinking like, man, I got to get back into the podcasting game, man. Podcasting, man. I got to do it. I was thinking of an idea, and then suddenly the song "A Pirate Looks at 40," the Jimmy Buffett song.
Yep.
Yeah, "A Pirate Looks at 40" came in my head, and I thought, "A Gamer Looks at 40," a show about my history with games and everybody else's. Boom.
That's
that
awesome.
Was it. I was like, okay, cool. Let's register a domain. Let's
there you go.
Let's get the wheels turning, man. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
It. So.
That's awesome. I like that multiple people can come in on one topic too, so it's not just a one-on-one sort of experience there. You get different insight, how things were impacted, differently by different people. I love that aspect of it, and I haven't seen that done. Usually it's, it's like this. It's 2 people coming in, but when you are able to make it more inclusive like that, I think it really ties everything together nicely. Yeah. And you recently did one on, what was the last, you did an extensive one on Castlevania, is that?
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, that's what it was. Final Fantasy. I knew because we had talked about it, and it was one that I never got into Final Fantasy, like on that level, or Castlevania. I've dipped my toe in both, but both are like, I don't know, they're in my mind the same way because I'm just not familiar enough with both of them.
Right.
But I listened to it, and it was great to, again, have that, insight into it from different perspectives. So really enjoyed that.
Yeah, if your audience is into Final Fantasy, I am doing almost nothing but Final Fantasy for the next few months. I'm going through every numbered Final Fantasy game.
Wow.
And some episodes are going to be, just one episode. Some games are going to have probably 3 or 4. The Final Fantasy 6 episode, Final Fantasy 6/3 in North America, is a very important game for me. And so that'll have at least 3 episodes.
Awesome.
So it's a big old.
That's a deep dive.
It's huge. I did the same thing with Zelda about 1.5 years ago. I went through every mainline Zelda, and again, some episodes had multiple episodes. Some games had multiple episodes, and it took like 5 months. And then between that, there's other small other shows. So if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, it's still worth following because I'll do other smaller shows between. It gives me time to put everything together. So, but yeah, Final Fantasy, I've just been like knee deep in it, and it's a franchise that's important to me, man. I had a lot of history with Final Fantasy, so if you dig that. Gamer Looks at 40 is definitely a place you should go and check that out for sure.
And I provided links to all your socials in the description of this video.
Awesome,
so for everybody that is, listening, definitely check that out because And I got to say this, the quality of your audio is exceptional. That's one of the first things I noticed as soon as I hit play. So I commend you on that, because that's a struggle for me. You know, I'm always trying to figure out how to better things.
I am the lowest tech. It's this thing.
Really?
It's like the lowest tech. I have
Yeah,
some compressors in the background that does some
sure.
massaging, and I do some stuff
Hmm.
on the back end, of course. But it's so funny.
Well,
Thank you for saying that. I know.
yeah, no, that's the first thing I noticed was,
I
wow,
appreciate
this
that,
is
man.
crystal clear. I struggle with that because I just recently got into live streams. I would say I started just doing these on Friday nights, and now I've kind of brought them into the mix a couple times a week as I test
Yeah,
things out. But
right.
you know, I'm one of those people that learns as I go, and that's how everything that I've done has kind of come to be. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm just, you know, rinse and repeat, and I learn along the way. So yeah, it's a slow process for me to take on anything because that is my process, you know. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
was definitely the first thing that I
Cool,
noticed
man.
about that. But
Awesome.
so let me dive into some of these comments here because I want to make sure
You're the people are requesting cheesecake. I know the cheesecake bigs. I've listened to the last few
that's good.
streams, so I'm up to date on the cheesecake. And
That's always like I feel like I always have to introduce people to that because it's
nope,
just the weird
I'm
thing that
in.
follows me on here.
Well, listen, it's delightful, and there's a
There
variety of
we
different
go.
kinds, man.
There we
I
go.
will say I currently live in the Austin, Texas area,
Hmm.
and the best cheesecake in my opinion in Austin, Texas, is a Jewish deli called Bitterman's. And it's like
Okay.
this little bagel shop, and you wouldn't think good bagels in Texas because they really don't exist. I'm from New Jersey, and that's where the
Wow.
best are, of
Yeah.
course. I mean,
Right.
come on.
Absolutely. I'm not far
But
from Jersey myself, so I
right.
can understand that.
So,
East Coast has certain things that you just can't replicate elsewhere,
but I will
and
say
that.
that when I went to Bitterman's for the first time, because again, I was advertised, it was like in this
Mhm.
old school style Jewish deli in Austin, Texas.
Sure.
I looked at their deluxe sandwich, and it was lox and cream cheese with capers, tomatoes, and onions.
Okay.
And I said, okay, now I trust you. I trust you to try it. I'll try this. I'll try it. And sure enough, it was there. It's very good, very
That's
respectable.
good.
Doesn't quite hold the candle to my hometown, but
Right.
very good, very respectable. And their cheesecake is phenomenal. It's so good. So if
That's
you're in Austin,
there we
swing by
go.
Bitterman's for like lunch, grab
Bittermints.
yourself a cheesecake, and head on over.
There you go.
Yeah, bro,
Perfect.
daddy, Lox is
It's
amazing. Lox is near and dear to my heart.
you've been out of Jersey too long from Perfect Storm Gaming. And who are we?
Man, listen, is this Joe or Vito?
I was just that was my question.
Which half of Perfect Storm Gaming is this? I want to get my Jersey accent's gonna come back in. And it's pork roll. I don't know. Sorry, Taylor ham. What am I saying? Jeez, Taylor ham. It's Taylor ham and pork roll. If that's a Southern Jersey thing, it's Taylor ham and always has been. And I will not be swayed from that.
There you go.
What's going on, Vito? What's going on, man? But yeah, so Bitterman's. If you're if you're down for that, if you're in the
It's
Austin area,
tough. It's tough when you relocate to a different part of the country to get that same experience that you had. Because I lived in Michigan for a little while,
Mhm.
and Italian food here on the East Coast is in abundance. I mean, we can find good pizza,
Oh,
subs, all that stuff, pretty much anywhere that you go. Although I'm very picky, but you can find, you know, it's not a far drive to find what you're looking for.
right.
In Michigan, it was a completely different story for me,
Yeah.
and I was there up there for like a year and a half, and I still never found anything that was any, you know, even remotely comparable to the East Coast. So that was a struggle for me. So I can relate there.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's always a success when you find something that it's not going to be home, but it's if it's close, that's a win.
it's close. I've found close in almost everything I'm used to from home. So I found pizza.
Good.
I'll be honest, I haven't found pizza quite like my hometown. And Vito, I will say, because I was listening about a month ago, you guys were on here, and you were shouting out Star Tavern in Orange. Star Tavern is my favorite pizza on the face of the planet, and I will stand behind that pizza until the day I croak. Star Tavern, best pizza on the planet. That is number one on my list. So when
Very
Vito brought it
nice.
up on your show last time, I was like, oh, see, I never met Vito in person. I knew I'd like him, and I'm like, I got it. That's
Is
perfect.
that one that was Dave Portnoy there and didn't give them
Yeah,
a high?
he gave him like
Did
a
he not give
7.5 or 7.6 or something. I forget what
seven
it was.
fives?
That's not
Okay, it's
bad.
coming back to me now. That's not bad, and for him, he doesn't give away like I don't think he's
No,
ever done anything beyond like what a 9.2, and that's like
right.
unheard of.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it was
unheard of.
like two places.
Yeah,
I'm not I don't follow him too closely, but I'm like 15 minutes from New Haven, Connecticut, and
nice.
he's that's his love for pizza. He thinks that that's the best pizza. I'm from out here, and it's not the best pizza. So
Fair, very fair. Oh, it looks like I might have lost you here. I think I might have lost. No, I did not say pork roll. I did not say pork roll. I misspoke. I'm on a stream. I'm
I don't know
nervous.
what happened. I just got booted out of
You
here
got
for a
booted out of
second.
your own show. I was like, all right,
How did
well, I
that
guess I'll talk to
happen?
your
My hands weren't even on the mouse or anything. I was like, wait,
Hey.
what happened? Oh well.
Oh man, it's all good. But yeah,
Well, did I miss anything in the
no,
3 seconds I was gone? Okay, I didn't
you're
think
good.
so.
Yeah, you're good. That's funny.
It's always something. We were actually talking about technical difficulties before we jumped on here, and today went surprisingly smooth. Other than the fact that my TV wouldn't turn on, the power outlet I have like a splitter, and for some reason it didn't want to work with me today, so I had to just switch it. But I was swapping batteries. It's always something. So there's the one for tonight, I guess. Always has to be something that goes off. So we got that out of the way early, at least. So let's see.
And it's one of those situations where we're always like troubleshooting the wrong thing because it couldn't possibly
Oh yeah,
be the plug that never fails. It has
you
to be
wouldn't
the
think. You wouldn't
thousand
think.
other things that fail constantly. And if
You
no,
wouldn't think, but
you wouldn't think, yeah. So
no,
that's
I would. First thing I went to was the battery, and then I was like, all right, well, I had loose batteries. Are they dead too? Because I pulled them out of something else and forgot to throw them out. It's always something. You go down the wrong rabbit hole, and yeah, it takes forever. All right, so let me dive into some of these comments here. Bill hacked the show. That's right. It was all Bill.
That's what I do, man. Listen, just just knocking it out.
There we go. And Joe popped up here. That would be good. That would
Yeah.
be good. Total hijacking.
Awesome.
And I just reached out to Joe earlier today. So for those that are just joining us, I got connected to you through Joe, and you're a lifelong friend of Joe's from Perfect Storm Gaming.
That's right. That's right. I've been friends with Joey since third grade. So
Wow.
well over 30 years at this point. We are old people, but it's amazing how it's very rare to have friends that long. And Joey and I, we don't see each other very often. I'm in Austin area. He's of course still in Jersey. But whenever we get together, either on the phone or even in person, it's like we've never missed a beat. Like I just saw him last week, and that's a sign of a true friend.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, many thanks to Joe and Vito for linking us up so we could do this. This is
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, and I absolutely love these guys at Perfect Storm Gaming, and I shout them out a lot because they're just awesome, genuine guys. And I got to know Vito, I think, a little bit more first, and now I've connected more with Joe over the last few weeks, and just the most genuine guy. So certainly appreciate him linking us together, as you said. But you guys had a podcast together about hockey. That's correct?
Yeah, this was back in 2011, I want to say. I think 2011 was the last time the Devils were in the Stanley Cup Finals. And we had a show called Devscast, and it was a New Jersey Devils show. We did it once a week or so, not a regular schedule. We it was every like 3 games, I think we'd meet up and talk about the games. And
is that a shortened season?
It wasn't a shortened season. It was the lockout was the next year. The next year was the next year, and that's what killed our show because we had nothing to talk about. It was just there was a shortened season in 2012, so that's what kind of just killed our show. But we had a pretty cool run. We had a lot of fun on that show, talking about hockey and getting into spirited arguments sometimes. And
that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
It's a lot of fun, man. And
he and I have yet to disagree because we're both old school wrestling fans. So that's our kind of connection. I'm a hockey fan too, but I don't follow as closely as I used to. I spent a lot of time in hockey rinks, and I don't know, sometimes I just need my distance from it. But yeah, I wasn't closely following the Devils. I will say that I'm kind of I'm dead center between Ranger territory and Bruins territory. So we're just, and then Islanders are right there too. So we're just, totally tapped out with all of that. We don't get as far as the Devils here, unless they're playing, one of those teams. But it's interesting with Joe because we agree so much on everything. We haven't bumped heads on wrestling yet, which is interesting because we've talked extensively about it.
Yeah, he
it's
loves
like our late
wrestling.
night text message. Yeah,
I fell out of wrestling when I was like maybe 11 or 12.
Well, that's most people. That's most people.
I fell out
of
it, and Joey never did, which is awesome.
Yeah,
it's great. He loves it, so I'm all about it. And
yeah, I fell out of it around, I would say probably 14, 15, somewhere around there. But I always keep up with it. But what I gravitate towards is, the old school stuff. So that's usually what we're kibitzing about. So,
nice. Very nice.
Yes, you do. You disagree that The Return of the Jedi is the best Star Wars film of the bunch. Okay.
Likes Empire. Yeah, I side with Empire. I think Empire is the best Star Wars movie. I think of all the movies I think the original trilogy, of course, again, this is me just being old. I think the original trilogy is the best. And
Oh, I
of
agree with
those,
you
I
there.
think Empire is the best because as a directed movie, as an actual like film, it holds up the best as a complete story.
Hmm.
And it's also kind of unfair because it is the second act, and the second act is always most interesting in the three-act structure because it's the height of the climax, and you have the height of the at the end of Empire. It's not fun; like no one's doing well, and it has that great intrigue. And I think Empire
This
is
is
just
true.
masterfully done. So I definitely would take Empire over Jedi for sure.
All right. Well, you're gonna piss Vito off, but that's okay.
I listen. Hey, I shouted out. I
That's
shouted
all
out
right.
Star Tavern.
No, I like the original three too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that. I like the original stuff, and then when stuff gets kind of reimagined, or not that necessarily that's the case, but with Star Wars, but yeah, I'm never a big fan of when things kind of come back around. But yeah, I can see what you're saying there for sure. I like Return of the Jedi probably a little bit more personally, but
It's
yeah,
fair.
it's they're all close for me. They're all
You're
neck and
talking
neck.
classic against classic. I mean, that's really what
Right,
we're talking about here. So it's
right, absolutely. And let's see, Empire was the best from Jim. You're 100% correct. There you go. You got some support. That's good.
all right. Excellent, excellent. It's a hotly divided topic. It's a hotly
It is.
debated
It is.
topic.
It is. And what did I see? Something about Sting. Oh, he's been Sting every. Yeah, he sent me when I first started texting with Joe. He sent me like collage of all of his Halloween costumes, and there had to be about I don't know 10 of them where he's been Sting. And so you've been lifelong friends with him, so you must have seen that for a good amount of years.
I don't know if I've seen a collage, but I know
Oh,
of the
he laid him
Sting.
out like he put him in what was that pic collage back in the day?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it was like that. It was just like a whole portfolio of.
A whole like a thing you could print out poster size, right? And like put on your
I
wall.
appreciate it. I
Joey
didn't
has
have to
Sting.
scroll through them. It was laid
Great.
out for me.
You know, interesting how Joey doesn't send you like a picture of his kids or like, no. Pictures of him as Sting as a Halloween costume. That's what Joey decides to do. Joey, you're a gent and a champ, my friend. You are something else. You are a
Well,
unique
that's how
personality.
I knew that we were aligned. We
I
were we
love
were
it.
good. We were going to be okay. Sting the janitor, Sting
Yeah,
tying his shoes here. Yeah,
yeah. There's Sting walking
there
down
we
the
go.
beach. Yep.
Great question. If you're willing to answer it, what brought you
Yeah.
to Austin from Jersey?
Yeah, so it actually was Jersey to New York to Austin. So I moved to New York in the winter of 2009. Yeah, 2009 from Jersey. I had broken up with a girlfriend I was living with, and I was like, I'm gonna move to the big city. I'm gonna live in New York. And
Hmm.
sure enough, I did and moved in. And 4 years later, my girlfriend, who would become my wife, we were living together, and we were kind of like, we're kind of out of money. We probably can't stay here. Plus, she had a job opportunity out here in Texas. So we moved out here for her job, and she has family out here as well. So
Oh,
it all
okay.
just worked
All right.
out really well. And it was also one of those situations like, how long can we spend $2,000 a month under 400 square feet of apartment?
It's
Ooh,
tough. Plus, that was a tough year too. 2009.
yeah.
It
Well,
was not
2009.
a.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was
2009.
still recovering from. I was in 2008. I was in Detroit, so that was the
Right.
worst place to be in 2008 when
Yeah,
everything was just going to absolute
yeah.
shit. So, I
But
yeah.
2013 is when we moved out of here, out to Austin, and
Okay.
yeah, we love it out here. Got the
I've
family
heard
out here now,
amazing
and
things. I was
yeah, I
just
love it.
recently in Dallas, and I know that's a ways away, but yeah, it was interesting. I definitely liked it out there, but I was there for a YouTube convention, so or a conference. I don't know what you would call it, like a conference convention sort of
Yeah, yeah.
thing. But yeah, it was actually. It's funny. I had never been to Texas, so I had I guess I just thought it was gonna be like cactuses and people with cowboy hats and like just my stupid idea of what it was, and it was completely different. So it was a nice week that I was out there for. So
Nice, man.
and Gen Master, are you in Texas? I feel like I remember you. Somebody was
Sounds
one of
like
the
it.
regulars is from Texas.
Yeah, it sounds like yeah, Jim Masters from Texas, man.
All my exes live in Florida. Okay.
There you go. That's a good reason. That's
There
an
you
excellent
go.
reason.
There
Well
you
done.
go. uh,
I'll
Rogue
agree
One
with
was phenomenal. I do like Rogue One. That is
Rogue One was
actually
pretty
one
good.
of my
It was fine.
that was one of my favorites for, like, the ones outside of the typical storyline.
Yeah.
Solo, people didn't like Solo, but I really
I had
did.
a good time. I think I saw Solo in the theaters with a bunch of friends, and it's
Hmm.
always different when you do that. When you see it with
Yeah,
friends in the theater, it's
yeah.
different than
It's
sitting
an
at home.
experience. More
Yeah,
of an
I
experience. Yeah,
had a good I remember walking out like, "That was fun."
yeah.
I had not seen it since,
Hmm.
but at my time with it was good, and I had a good time. I kinda, like, turned off the critic brain. I used to write a lot of, film reviews way back when,
Okay.
about I was a film critic for a while, and, I just turned that piece of my brain off and just had fun. It was great. I'm like,
Yeah, I think
"Cool."
that's what a lot of people forget to do. Like, I'm a
Yeah,
big Indiana Jones fan, so
there you go.
Indiana Jones beyond the original three gets so much hate, and now with the new one, it's not as bad as the one from 2008. But
Yeah,
yeah, so many people absolutely hate it. But as a fan of the franchise, for me, it's just an experience, and I don't go through it with a fine tooth comb. I just take it for what it is.
yeah,
It's for me, it's a way to kind of reminisce on what I grew up on. So even if it's not phenomenal, it's not critically acclaimed, it's still a good time for me. So
yeah.
I think sometimes we just have to have fun with things, and it's like that with gaming too. So
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
we
Sometimes it's
we see,
just have fun with it, right? Like, just
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So
But remember that these things are limited pieces of media that people made, and they're gonna have things you don't like, right? And you can either
absolutely
make the choice to just enjoy it and have fun with it, but you can also be critical about it. Like, yeah, I love this, but this piece of it's not great. So it's a balancing act for sure.
true, true. So what type of games are you into, and are you into modern day games, or is it all retro? Because that's a question I get all the time. I'm the retro
Yeah.
gaming guy. Do you play modern titles, or are you more into the old stuff that we grew up on?
I play some modern stuff. Like, the podcast is so busy. I'm usually doing at least 3 interviews right now a week, at least, sometimes
Wow,
6 interviews a week with different
wow.
people, and then I'm editing and doing all that. So the show takes a big bulk of time. So everything I play has to be in short spurts. I was really into Vampire Survivors for a while because that is the
Hmm.
perfect, like, sit down. I got 20 minutes to play. I
Yeah.
love Vampire Survivors. So for modern games, I really like the Horizon Zero Dawn series. I played both of those and really enjoyed them. But mostly right now, it's just about Final Fantasy. I'm playing Final Fantasy 9 right now, in
Okay.
preparation for those episodes that are coming up because I've never had a PlayStation as a kid, so I missed out on all the PS Final Fantasies. I
Oh,
tried to
okay.
play
Wow.
8. 8 was I gave it a good shot. I gave it a try. I did. I gave it a solid try. I gave it 2.5 hours. And look, I'm a dad. Two
Yeah.
and a half hours is prime real estate. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
it
couldn't do it,
absolutely
bro.
is.
Could
It
not do it. But
absolutely
nine's a
is.
lot of fun. Nine's is a good time. So yeah,
Good
that's kind of what I'm
stuff.
playing now. And when it comes to retro, I still love picking up NHL 94. I
NHL 90, and I think that
it's
Joe and I talked about that because I actually sent him a text of 2-on-2 Open Ice Challenge. I was doing a review the other day, and I sent him that because I know he's a hockey fan. I was playing as the Devils, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that he kicked back to me. He was like, "That's pretty good, but how about this?"
yeah.
Um, and
NHL,
then
yeah. It's
yeah, they're
actually
they're,
one
they're good games.
Yeah, one of the episodes of my podcast actually from I want to say earlier this year, possibly probably earlier this year, is with a gentleman by the name of Rich Hilleman and Troy Linden. They were two of the original developers of the Madden series in
Oh
EA,
wow,
which then they also did the NHL series. And it's a two-part interview. And the second part's with Richard, who was one of the main programmers of the NHL, the original EA NHL series. He's talking about the system, how it was built, like when they
wow,
demoed it live at a Stanley Cup game, and people were ignoring the game to play their game. And it's a really
wow.
cool interview. I think it's around in the 80s or 70s or 80s episode number. But so if you
I'm
dig
gonna have to
NHL
check that one
94,
out.
it's a really
Yeah,
interesting episode. He shares a lot. It's really good. So
very
yeah,
good. I'm gonna
I'm
have to check that
biased.
one out.
I'm biased, but
No, I love hockey games, and I feel like they kind of fall short with people liking like NBA Jam and Madden or Blitz if we're going back that far. But yeah, there's a lot of really great hockey titles, even for like N64. There's some good ones.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. They've evolved really nicely. Like for me, I never got into Madden, so I'm like one of the weirdos that just wasn't a Madden guy.
same.
But hockey games, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're just easier to
I
play for
remember
me.
NHL
Um,
99 on this N64 was great. It was a really
yep.
fun one. I jumped out of hockey games. The last one I bought, I think, was 2013, I think. And the reason I
Okay.
jumped out of it was because as soon as the games required me to be good at hockey to play my hockey video game, I'm out. If I have to like tilt the stick back and do a stick motion with the right
Yeah.
stick and then aim with the
Yep.
left and then no. I just wanted A
Yeah.
for pass, B for shoot, C to check. That's all I
Yeah.
need. I don't
There you
want
go. Yep.
that's where I end.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. So like I liked NHL hits and
Oh,
those that were like
so good.
those are so good for me because they're exactly what you just said. So
Yeah.
simple to play.
Yep.
Once you figure out, how to speed boost and wrist shot, slap shot, fight, you're good to go. I don't need all this, advanced skill,
Yeah, I
to
gotta
play
like
the game. So
figure out my contract values for this person. Am I gonna give him a 2-year
yeah.
extension? And then
Yeah.
no, I just want to pretend like the Devils are good and play a damn game. Joey, we had 1 year. Why can't we have more than just 1 year, Joey? Don't get me started. We're at Devscast 2.0, like a special return. Oh, and Douglas
Blades of
Simon.
Steel is good
Oh,
too.
Blaze of Steel is
Yeah.
amazing. I played so much Blaze of Steel. That's another one I still pick up. Blaze of Steel is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, for me, just being like I gravitate towards arcade games. So 2-on-2 Open Ice Challenge, I love that
Oh,
because
yeah.
also you have just an amazing roster for
Yep.
all the teams. It's limited, but it's still you've got so many great players on there for so many great teams as well. Montreal Canadiens were good on there.
Yep.
Pittsburgh Penguins, just a lot, and then the Rangers were absolutely stacked in that game. I think Gretzky's on the Kings there, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I definitely like that era. And I feel like that's about 94, 95, maybe 96. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So,
in that range. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, something like that. NFL Blitz is good too. I like NFL Blitz. And that's also playing on that. I like the basic controls of that. And that's why I
Yes.
gravitate towards that over Madden, where for me, I'm just like, I spend the first hour trying to figure out like what is going wrong and then trying to build from there. So
Yeah.
yeah, NFL Blitz, you can figure that game out. I mean, obviously there's skill involved with that too. You have
Sure.
to get used to it, but
Sure.
you can basically navigate it in about 5 minutes or so. Especially if you're playing on the arcade. I think that's so much simpler than one of the home console versions.
Yeah.
Mutant League, all right.
Mutant League. Oh, I remember
There you
Mutant
go.
League hockey. That was great. And Mutant League football.
There you go.
There was Mutant League hockey and Mutant League football. And I think they re-released it relatively recently, but it wasn't as good. I
I
think
think
like,
so.
it's like an indie game.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but
familiar story.
hey, I remember this thing from my childhood. Let's re-release this. And
Yeah.
it's like, gameplay has moved on a little bit since then. You don't quite have the
I was
match.
actually just playing that. I demoed it the other day in a live stream, and I've been finding an excuse to demo it over and over again. It's the Shredder's Revenge for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Have you
So
played that?
good. Oh, yes.
It's awesome
Great.
because it's graphically obviously light years beyond like Turtles in Time and
Sure.
stuff like that, but it still has that basic gameplay. But it's a throwback. But I think that kids of today like it too. It's just all around awesome title that I really
My
enjoyed.
my son is really into Ninja Turtles now.
Oh, okay.
Partially because of that game, because I picked it up because I figured it'd be good for him to. I think he's maybe
Yeah.
6 at the time when we first picked it up, and it's a great game for kids because you don't have to be incredibly good. Like you can button mash and get your way through it. So
Well, that's what I did. Yeah.
yeah. And we co-op that game together and we beat it together, and it was a lot
Yeah.
of fun, all the two of us. And he still picks it up and plays it. And now he plays the old ones. He'll
Oh,
play like
okay.
Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
One time we were on
got him into that stuff. That's
yeah,
awesome.
like one time we were on a plane to probably back to New York, I think. And I look over and he's got the Switch and he's playing NES Ninja Turtles. And like the original NES one, the one that's really, really hard. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
look, dude, you may want to steer clear of that one. He's like, no, Daddy, it's fine. I'm playing. And of course he loses. But I was like, son,
That's a
you gotta
tough
learn the
one.
hard way, dude. I will have to say this one thing. My son's claim to fame, he loves platformers. So he likes like old school games more than anything else. He's beaten Donkey Kong Country.
Really? That's
He beat
awesome.
Donkey Kong Country when he was 6. That's his big claim to
Incredible.
fame. He used rewind, judicious use of rewind.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
6,
That's all right.
but
That's all right.
he
That's fair.
still got
Yeah.
through everything. And it
That's
was
awesome.
the day he did. I have a big picture of him, just a grin on his face, like switch in his hand. It was awesome.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one for me.
Yeah,
And I think that the Vito at Perfect Storm Gaming can agree with that, right? I saw him battling through it with one of his earlier streams that I was watching. So
yeah, I saw that stream. I was actually on that. I saw that stream. And I'm like, yeah. Well, you know how he did it because he just ran through it and just took insane amount of damage. And they were like, oh, cool. That's it for me. I love it.
Issues with Yuzu. Every yeah, well, Yuzu is a problem these days. I'm afraid to try to do anything with Yuzu. In all honesty, so I can understand that being a problem. And RC from NYC, thank you so much for the support as always. What's up, gamers? Hope all is good. Sports games on the table. MVP Baseball 2005 PC PS2 version, 100%.
I don't know that one. I don't know that one.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Baseball games for me though are tough because I'm so terrible with the timing. Like I recently, my stepson's into the latest and greatest baseball games. What is it?
Show.
The show. And he just like our games are like 32 to like 2 because I don't have the timing down, and it takes me so long. And by the time I get the timing down, he's on to the next game. He doesn't want to play the baseball anymore. So it's like that's how we were with Fortnite too. He got sick of Fortnite right around the time that I finally was into it because I hated it for the first couple of years that I was playing it with him. And now finally we've kind of come back together, and now we play that. But yeah, the baseball games are tough for me. I always struggle with those. Like I love the N64 Slugfest, Ken Griffey Slugfest.
Yep.
But I'm terrible at it. So that's how it goes sometimes.
My first video game console, and this again is going to date me as an old person, but that's fine. I'm 43. I don't mind being old. I'm actually very happy to be old because otherwise I'd be dead, and I'd rather be old than dead. So I am totally leaning into being like the sage, like the wise wizard who remembers when Netflix sent DVDs to your house and stuff. Like I love that.
I remember that too, and I'm about 10 years younger than you, so
totally.
I remember that.
My first console was an original NES, and I did never own Super Mario Brothers because my parents got me the control deck, which had I think 2 controllers but no packing game, and they got me Rad Racer and regular black box baseball, and it's just baseball. No RBI, no bases loaded, just baseball. Sports Series baseball. I played so much Sports Series baseball, and I don't even like baseball that much. It's fine. I don't have an affinity for it. I used to do full seasons on my own. I'd have notebooks full of stats. I had all the players pretend names in there, and I would keep track of all their runs and their RBIs. Like I was like sports simming. So then I got Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball on the Super Nintendo, which is
that's a good
wonderful,
game. Yes.
Wonderful game.
Yes.
It was like the game does it for you. Like you can do it 162 game season. It does it for you. It remembers these things. That's awesome. So that
is a good one too. I'm actually better at that than the N64 one.
I play that. I still as another one of those pick up and play for 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with games too. Like I need to be able to get in and out of games. I can't end up like deep diving into stuff because I have 3 kids and I've got 2 dogs, and like there's always something going on here. So I can't, afford to get sucked into something too deep. So yeah, it keeps me mostly with retro myself. And then I play a little bit of Fortnite now, and I've actually bonded with Joe over Fortnite as well because he's a big Fortnite guy too, which I was surprised to find out. And we played one game together and we won. So we haven't circled back on that yet. We're still riding the our win wave. So let's see. I can't get Shredder's Adventure work on Yuzu. Will not boot. If it's I'm not sure if I got it on there. I know some people that have played it through Yuzu, but I just played it on a game drive the other day. And actually, when I reviewed a previous game drive, it wasn't working on there. So maybe it's one of those tough ones that you got to kind of finagle. But what's this? Baseball for me best is Baseball Stars on NES. That's a good one. That's a good one. I haven't played that in a really long time though.
That's a classic.
And there's some strange ones for Neo Geo that are actually pretty cool too. What else do we have here? Fortnite. Oh yes, Latino Heat is not a Fortnite guy.
I've never played it. I've never given it a shot. I know Joey loves it, and clearly you do too. So I mean that's cool. I've never given it a shot.
It's not for everybody, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not competitive like that. If I lose, I want to lose in private. I don't need to lose in public. I don't need to be the 94th person killed. Like your place is 94th. Like I don't need that. The only one who needs to know that I failed is the game over scream and me. That's the
there
only.
You go.
It's a
Fair
private
enough.
relationship. That's how I like to roll it.
I can understand that. And the code here, actually, Latino Heat told me about the Ken Griffey code, where the cheat code. I will say, in that game is a challenge for me to get the timing right and to level the bat and everything to actually connect with the ball. I do struggle with that, but as long as you hit it, you will hit a home run. So he did tell me about that as a way for me to level up a little bit on it, but I still can't hit the damn ball. So, so that is the challenge. But Super Nintendo, I am much better at that one. It's a little bit more basic too, which helps me. So
That's cool, man. Very cool.
let him know he's on the younger. You're on the younger side of the chat. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
good.
All
That's
right. I'll
good.
take it. I'm usually the oldest person everywhere I go. So this is a refreshing change, I guess. That's fine. Age is whatever, honestly, man. I mean, listen, as long as you're still doing the things you love to do and enjoying life, man, it really doesn't matter. So
I agree. Ice Climber is the best.
Ice Climber is a game I can never get into. I've tried it a
I'm
couple of times. I may have to
I'm
give
not
that another shot
I'm
soon.
not sure that I've even played Ice Climber. To be perfectly honest, that's
It's
not ringing bells.
it's a solid game. I've played a little bit of it, so I don't
I'm
have a
looking.
lot of experience.
I'm looking it up right now to see if I've played this. Let me see.
I agree
Ice
with Rick B.
Climber.
Age is only a number. That's it, man. I agree. I
I've
agree.
never played Ice Climber. Yeah, I've seen
It's a
the
good time.
cover of it, but
Yeah.
never played it. I'll have to add that to my list. All right. No matter how I tried to pitch to Griffey and Griffey's N64, he always took me deep.
It's his
Yes,
game. Imagine
that's
that. Imagine
true.
if he wasn't the best player in his own game. Like
That's
no one
true.
has that kind of humility. Like of course he's the best player in his own game. Has to be.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, man.
The only time I've had luck against him in a game is what was it? The baseball game. It was on PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn. What is that? It's always a 3D baseball because it's like I don't know. It's one of those weird games where I don't know if they ever used like MLB in there or like I don't know if it was like a licensing sort of loophole, but I don't think they used like full names in that game. But yeah, that was one where he's not actually phenomenal in that game. So let's see, Yanks to call it. Okay, all right. 55 is the new 65. There we go.
Hey, I'm digging that. Fair.
I'm just jumping into the
Yeah.
comments here a little bit.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. All good at all.
Yeah, I do the code, but yeah, I still have to hit the ball. That's the problem. If they can make it an auto hit too, and I just have to hit the button, then I'd be golden.
If
But
they can replace the baseball bat with like a cricket bat, like a big wide, like an oar.
there you go. That's what I need, a
Boom.
cricket bat.
That's the game. I need oar mode in this game, and then I'm going yard every single time.
See, he enjoys that. He's actually nasty at that game. And Mario Kart, I will say. He's got all the cheats figured out for Mario Kart where he can just lap you and all. Yeah.
Every year I participate with some friends of mine who put together a Mario Kart tournament. Mario Kart, the newest one, 8, whatever it is, Mario Kart
Yep.
Deluxe 8.
Yep.
They put together a Mario Kart for charity, and they do it for a charity stream.
Oh, sweet.
And I think it's not for Extra Life. It's for Stand Up for Cancer. And
Sweet.
so it's during Stand Up for Cancer when they're doing a lot of their Twitch stuff. And I've participated the last 3 years. And I'm okay at Mario Kart. I am not good competitively. There is a very firm line between those who are okay at it and those like clearly like this person who is awesome at it.
Yeah.
And last year I made it to the semifinals. I was in the final 4 and I was riding high. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I must have found it. And I got annihilated. I mean, murdered in the final in the finals. I was toast.
So it wasn't just you and your screen that knew about it too, because
no, it was everybody else. And it's like, oh well. I mean, I did the best I've ever done. But when you know like the cheats and the shortcuts and how to just hit those drifts, you can't even.
Yep.
I was
anytime I'm doing well, it's like I'm doing great until a banana comes and then I'm back to last place.
When you get Mario Karted, when you get carded, that's just how it happens. That's how it works.
Exactly.
I was in Colorado a couple of years ago with some family, and I have 3 younger cousins, ages at the time I think like 11, 9, and 7, and they had just gotten a Switch for Christmas, so they were playing Mario Kart. That's all they wanted to do. We're on this like ski vacation. Their parents set it up all nice. This really cool house in Breckenridge, Colorado, and they're like, let's go skiing. These kids just want to play Mario Kart. I'm laughing of course because that's all I really want to do. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I am not a skier. I'm a faller down a mountain.
There
Tell
you
that
go.
story. But they were playing Mario Kart, and the middle child, Augie, he was struggling. Like he was getting wrecked by his cousins, or his brothers rather. So I go, Augie, come here. Let me teach you how to drift. Let me teach you how to drift. So I taught him how to drift. He started owning him. Because once you learn how to drift, you are now instantly better than anybody who does not know how to drift in Mario Kart.
True.
And he started improving over the week.
Yep.
So I was like, I had to give the guy a chance.
There you go.
Yeah.
Double Dash is the bomb. I'll agree with
Double
you
Dash is
there for
great.
sure. Double
Double
Dash
Dash
is
is
awesome.
great
And there's
game.
strategy involved there too.
Lot,
So yeah,
yep.
there's a lot going on there for
I
sure.
have I have friends who are extremely good at Mario Kart who prefer Double Dash. That's their main competitive
Hmm.
Mario Kart game.
Yeah, and it's a tough one too. But I feel like I'm better with that one than I am at Mario Kart 64. However, that makes sense. But
It's fair.
yeah, it seems to. Let's see. Press escape. Ape escape.
Ape Escape.
Ape
Ape
escape.
Escape.
There we go.
There you go. Cool. Not be held responsible for comes out as an during Mario Kart. No one is.
That's
You know,
fair. That's
you're not.
fair.
It's okay. You're okay. You don't have to be responsible for what comes out of your mouth during Mario Kart. It's a safe place for profanity.
I think my 5 TB isn't enough for games. I'm adding PC gameplay. You got a lot of games then, yeah. 12
Yeah, man.
terabytes is massive for sure. Well, it depends on what you're putting on there too. If you're putting on, more modern day titles, you can fill that up pretty quick, I suppose. But if you're just looking for the retro stuff, then you have more than enough space. So it just depends what you're doing. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody about that the other day, how like Super Nintendo, you could put all the Super Nintendo games on a drive and it would be a fraction of what like a modern day game would be,
Oh, totally.
size wise. It's
Absolutely.
crazy. Because
Absolutely.
some people will see like these game drives that have like thousands of games and they're like, oh, this one only has 300. That's lame. It's like, well, it's different types of games and,
Right.
take up different space and stuff. So,
Yeah. Once you get
yeah,
to the
it's funny.
PS2 era, they start getting pretty chunky as far as the file
That's
sizes
true.
go. So
Yep. And then PS3 is a major jump. And then,
yep.
beyond that, it's like, hold on. Crash Team Racing, that's a good one too. I
Yeah,
like Crash
I
Team
wasn't a
Racing too.
PlayStation guy, but yeah, I've played a couple of rounds of Crash Team Racing. I enjoyed it.
I like I like it for Switch, like the latest one. Was that Nitro Fueled? That one's pretty sweet.
Mhm.
Just a really smooth game, and it's one of those two that you can jump into and do a couple races and get out of. It doesn't, suck you in too much, which is again what I go for these days because I don't have the ability to, dive into a game and play it all the way through like I used to. I miss those days, but it is
Them
what it
days are
is.
long gone.
That's
Long
true.
gone.
That's
But
true.
that's why the smaller experiences are good for that. You can just jump in
Yeah.
and play. I got a question for you, Chase.
Yeah.
What would be a game that you think you're bizarrely good at? You don't know why, and it's not like a game that anyone would care about. What's a game that you're good
I've
at?
got that one easy, and I
Go for
think
it.
a lot of people know Virtua Tennis. For me, it's
Virtua
just
Tennis. Okay.
Virtua Tennis, and it's not and it's not something
Yeah.
that like you could if you're good at Mario Kart, you can flex on that. You can't flex if you're good at Virtua Tennis. It's just nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I love that.
So
I'm
yeah,
I'm
you know what it is? It's that I played in the arcade at it, and it's hard with the arcade because you have the joystick, and I don't know. I feel like it's one of those cases for me where it's easier on a home console setup. And it could just be me with that. But I was so bad at it in the arcade that when I got access to it on a Dreamcast, I had to get good at it because I was just so terrible at the arcade. So yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I can run through it without any issues usually. And I use it for my game tests on like mini PCs and stuff
right.
to look for like lag and stuff because if I'm missing the ball or anything's out of whack, I know that there's a lag or something because I'm so on point with it. So yeah,
That's funny.
that's my weird one I'm good at.
Cool.
Yeah.
My weird one is Marble Madness. I am
Okay. All right.
oddly good at Marble Madness, and again,
Okay.
no one cares. And
I was going to say that you're in the same boat as me there.
same boat, but I am bizarrely good at it. NES Marble Madness. I played in the
There you go.
arcades with the old trackball, and I'm decent. Like I can use. I've gotten through Marble Madness because there's only 6 races in Marble Madness. You can get
Yeah.
through it in maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think I've ended with above 80 seconds left. Like above
Wow.
80 seconds left. Like
Wow.
yeah, I am oddly good at it, and again, nobody could care less, and that's perfectly fine. I'm good with that.
Trackball games are tough too. Those are
Yeah.
definitely those can be a challenge for me.
Yeah.
And you know what I played one time? Somebody was asking me about what's the Golden Tee. So that's a trackball game, and somebody was asking me how do you play that if you don't have a trackball? You can actually use, and I don't know if you could do this with other trackball games, but you can actually use the analog sticks on like a PlayStation style controller to like basically use it like a trackball,
Mhm.
and it's a weird sort of
Huh.
experience. But I'm better at Golden Tee that way than with a trackball.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you could play other stuff like that. Marble Madness
Right?
on Amiga. There we go from Rick B.
Yep. Yep. Classic. Classic.
Mine was Arcade Off Road. I was a
Arcade
beast.
off-road is so fun.
That is fun.
That is fun.
I
That's cool.
recently found that when I was in Vegas at the Pinball Hall of Fame, they had that there. Yeah, that can be a tough one too, for
Yep.
sure.
Arcade off-road is fun.
What is a good mini PC that can handle all the retro to Switch, PS2, Dreamcast? I play now on PC, but I want to get a mini PC for playing with friends. Um, so it depends how high end you want to go. I mean, I did a review on the Minis forum. God, I'm blanking on the model name, but it would be my last mini PC review video. That one it's really high end. I mean, I think it's like a 600 and change for that unit, but it is the best mini PC by far. It'll handle all of that stuff beautifully. But you probably don't need to go that high end for what you listed there. You could go with probably like a $350 mini PC. I'll try to at the end of the stream. I'll try to find you some links to some options. But yeah, you're probably gonna be in that price range for like really smooth performance. So hopefully that helps. Virtual on Twin Stick on Dreamcast. Sur 7 Max. Yeah, so Sur 7 Max would definitely be, or Sur 7 would be a good option for you, but that's another one of those more high-end ones. You may not need to go, that high-end with your specs. So there you go. That's the one. All right, so let's see. Sweet. That'll be a fun project. Magic Balls. I took it right away. PF Magic Balls.
I don't know that one. PF Magic
I'm
Ball.
not.
Okay. I don't know that one.
I don't know that one
Not
either.
familiar.
What was that? Yeah, that's not registering with me either. Sur 7's 570. All right, so that dropped a little bit. It's funny how price points price points are all over the place. Now, are you a game collector of like retro games? Are you a collector of anything or not so much?
No, I don't collect
funny.
anything. I just don't have that bug in me. Never have.
That's good though. That's good. You save yourself some money that way.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, I see a lot of price fluctuations just in general with pricing of mini PCs and stuff, and that's really all I follow. But it's interesting. I'll talk every now and then to people that collect retro games, and the price fluctuations on that stuff is crazy.
It's
so
ridiculous.
yeah, it's good that you're not a collector.
No,
I'm not either. I'm not either.
I never had the bug to collect anything. I have no space for anything. Again, 2 kids, they take all the space for all the things.
Exactly.
The only thing I think that they've been close to collecting right now is my son is into Pokemon cards.
Okay.
Which now means I am into Pokemon cards.
There you go.
And it's been really fun for the two of us to like just a little mini collection. So I was out at Portland Retro Game Expo last year, which was a ton of fun. PRGE, yeah. And I went on a little Pokemon card hunt for my son, and I picked him up his first graded Charizard.
Sweet.
And
Nice.
his first thing was, "Oh, how do I open this so I can play with it?" I'm like, "No, don't open that."
Yeah.
And then I realized my mistake. He's gonna want to play with it because he actually plays the game too. He likes to play it and collect it.
Sure.
And I realized,
yeah,
I could have saved some bucks on that because it wasn't cheap.
No.
But it was like a birthday, like Christmas gift, like, hey, here's a
Mm-hmm.
special your first graded Pokemon card. He understands.
There you go.
First thing he was like, "Oh, how to open it so I can use this card?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah, well, that's how I was at that age too. I didn't understand.
Yeah, he's 7.
That's good. It's always good to have that connection that we can kind of have with our kids like that. For me, it's and I think that's also why I enjoy wrestling a little bit. It was wrestling for a while, then games has always been the most consistent thing because I don't think that you might grow out of certain games, but you don't grow out of like just gaming in general, really. Our tastes change over the years, but we can kind of as parents adapt with our kids along the way with that, which is cool. But yeah, I never got into Pokemon too much as a kid, and then
I missed the window on that when I was because that came out in 96 or 7. I was a teenager by then,
and my childhood.
And I wasn't really I wasn't of the age for it, so I really didn't play much at all. And then just my kid, he's right in the pocket for that. So
yeah. Well, it's come back around. I guess it never fully went away, but it seems really
really
popular
flows,
again.
but it's back up in a big way for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting how that's another one that if you're into it and you're into collecting, that's going to drain your wallet for sure. Yeah, I was watching something with Logan Paul where he's gotten some crazy
Yeah.
Pokemon cards for
Uh-huh.
ridiculous price points. It's
Millions.
interesting to see. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's nuts. If you're okay with size, you can probably pick up a fairly decent used rig for 300 on your local. That's true. That's true. You can always look for stuff like that too. Especially if you're going to game on it, you don't have to worry about as many things as if you're using it for like regular PC usage.
Yeah.
There you go, Assassin's Creed. So
Black
that's one I've
Flag.
played a
Yeah.
few of those, but Black Flag, yeah, I have played
People
that
like
one
that.
actually.
People
Yeah,
like
that is
that
a
one
good
a
one.
lot.
Yeah, that is a good one. There's so many of them now. It's tough for me
I
to keep track of them all,
I
but I
played the
do remember
first
that
one
one.
and I remember thinking it was fine, and then
Yeah.
just didn't really pick up the rest of it. Limited time.
hmm Did they make that into a movie? I feel like they did.
Assassin's Creed, yeah, there was Assassin's
They
Creed. It was
did.
Michael Fassbender, I think, played
Okay, that's right.
whoever the
And it
lead is.
wasn't terribly. It was
It
5 years
was
ago or something.
okay. Yeah, like 5 years ago. That sounds
Yeah,
about right. Yeah, and I
yeah.
think it
I
was
don't think I saw that.
okay reviewed. Yeah, I didn't see it. No,
It's interesting. I used to be such a movie buff, and I'd watch movies. Now I feel like I watch maybe a dozen movies a year now.
not the same.
I've
I
yeah.
used to go to theaters once a week for the
I'm
longest time.
Up
Every
until
week I'd
recently,
either.
I was like that. I would say up until COVID, I was,
Mhm.
but then I had my youngest too around that time too, and now I'll take them. But as soon as that popcorn runs out, we're out of there. Like
Oh
we
wow,
can't, yeah, we can't get through a full movie because they're there for the popcorn and the candy, and once that runs, my
that's
daughter
funny.
especially, she's ready to go home,
Wow.
where she knows there's probably more popcorn and candy waiting
Uh-huh,
for her,
uh-huh.
so she's
Yep,
got it all figured out. But
that's cool.
yeah, it's interesting. We were talking about time and like diving into games and stuff. I'm the same way with movies. It takes me forever to get through movies now. Like I'll watch in increments,
I can't do
and
it. I can't do
yeah,
it. I have to watch a movie beginning to end. I cannot break it up.
really.
I have to watch it
I
beginning
was
to end.
always that way, and I would get like, my wife would want, all right, well, we'll watch half now, and it would drive me nuts. I was the same way. Now I'm like, I just watched Gran Turismo. I
How
feel like I
was that?
watched that. You know what? It's actually pretty good.
Yeah?
I
Okay,
enjoyed it. I mean, it's not
okay.
like it's not a storyline that really like grips you and pulls you into it.
Yeah.
It's good though. I mean, for what it is, it's good. I'm sure there's people out there that'll rip it apart, but you know, I didn't know what the story was either. So sometimes when I'm not familiar with it works to the film's advantage for me.
Yeah,
But
it's fair.
I feel like I watched it for like 6 weeks to get through it. And it's not long. It's like 2 hours. But I watched, like, my wife said to me the last time I was watching, she was like, "Did you watch this movie already?" I'm like, I'm still getting my way through this movie,
You're watching it like
and I
YouTube
like
shorts.
it too. That's the
Like a minute a pop.
exactly. And now I just started watching. Is it Dumb Money? I think it's about the GameStop
Oh,
investment sort of thing.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
just
yeah.
went on Netflix, so I'm chipping away at that
Chipping
like
away at
five
that.
minutes
That's
at a
funny.
time.
I love it,
But
man.
I don't know. That's life as a parent. You just do
You
what you
just
can
take the
when you
time when you
can.
can. That's it.
Yeah,
Take it when you can, you get it.
exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
I love it.
My kid's favorite is Mario 64. I mean, you can't go wrong with Mario
Classic.
64.
Not go wrong with
Classic
it.
right there.
Yep.
That might be one of the most classic Mario games.
It's up
At
there.
least from
I mean,
at least from my era.
it's one of those games where consoles were not supposed to be able to do what happened in Mario 64. And I think and
hmm
everybody remembers their first time picking up that N64 controller, if you're of that age, and just running around in circles in that
Yeah.
courtyard outside the castle.
Oh
You
yeah. Yeah.
and the way it did that was no other system was
Right.
doing that at the time. People
Right.
make fun of the N64, the controller, it's goofy. Yeah, I get it. But
For
that
sure. Yeah.
feeling of freedom, especially at that time, it was unheard of
Yeah.
anywhere in
Oh, it
gaming.
was
And I
revolutionary for that time, and
absolutely.
it
And it
took
holds up.
things to yeah. Oh yeah. It took
Oh yeah.
things to the next level, and that's how I feel about the Dreamcast too. Were you a big Sega guy at all, or
I was always
mostly
team
Nintendo?
Nintendo. I was always team
Okay.
Nintendo, and Joey and we always
I
had
was
this
gonna say
argument.
so.
He was
Yeah.
team Sega, and we always had our back and forths about it. But yeah, I was always team Nintendo, so I never had a Dreamcast. I'll tell you a quick story with Joey. I don't know if he's still on or not, but one day we were in. This would be very regional, but we were hanging out. We were so, very many years ago, and there used to be a McDonald's. It might still be there off the Parkway, off exit 145. It's like the Parkway McDonald's. It's a big
hmm
gas station and a McDonald's.
Yeah.
And I meet up with Joey. And he's like, Bill, come. Let's go to McDonald's. I'm like, why are we going to McDonald's? We're gonna go play Dreamcast. My boy has a Dreamcast with him in a carrying case. So we go to McDonald's off the Parkway and go to one of the TVs. We're playing Crazy Taxi on one of the TVs in the McDonald's off the Parkway.
That he brought with him.
And he brought with him. He would never leave home without his Dreamcast, just in case he ran into a TV that needed plugging into. It was wild.
I mean, this is the guy that has an arcade in his storage locker, so I can understand it.
After years of friendship, I go, well, that's just a natural extension of who he is as a human being. I played Dreamcast with him in a McDonald's off the Parkway.
Very few can say that. So.
And very few. And no one cared. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something, and no one cared. If people walking by, like, oh, that's pretty cool. Absolutely wild, man.
He's an interesting guy.
Joey is a unique individual. I love him to death, man. Joey, you're the best.
I love it. That is awesome. But yeah, that's another thing and that's why we have yet to, have an issue or a disagreement, because I'm the same way. I love Sega. I love Dreamcast, especially. That's my console too, but because I was an arcade guy, so they had so many great ports to the Dreamcast. Virtua Tennis being one of them, of course.
Yep.
But yeah, there were a lot of good ones. Gauntlet Legends for me is my all-time favorite game, so that looked graphically so much better on that than PlayStation or N64's versions. So that was the big winner. And then Hydro Thunder. There's just, the list goes on and on. Operation Wolf. That's a good game.
I'm terrible at it. Digitizer. I'm terrible at Operation Wolf. I was never good at it. Never good at it. It was wild.
That's a good. I don't know if I'd say I'm good at it, but I enjoy that game quite a bit.
Right.
Multi-tap on the TurboGrafx Bomberman.
Very nice, very nice. If you like his Sega World, I have a friend who's a Twitch streamer. He goes by G to the Next Level, and he streams on Twitch. And he's mainly a Sega guy, and he's actually working on a book where he's going to be reviewing all the Sega Genesis games. He owns every Sega Genesis game ever made.
Oh wow! So he's a collector.
He's a collector. He's a complete Sega Genesis collection, and he has, I think, most Dreamcast as well. So if you like Sega, I'd recommend G to the Next Level. Really positive guy, awesome streams, a lot of fun. So.
I'll have to check them out. Yeah, I definitely like that. That just feels like my era of gaming. And then even the stuff beyond that, though. Did you game? So I'm just gauging your age and what you would have been into. So were you into like original Xbox, PS2? Because I know you didn't have PlayStation.
Because I was in college in that time, and I kind of took a break from gaming in that era.
I'm the same.
I never had a PS1. My brother ended up getting a PS2 to play GTA.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing he wanted it for. So we had a PS2 in the house when he got one. I really didn't get back into gaming until I was kind of like back on my own and started just picking it up here, then everywhere. And then I was just going back playing retro stuff. So as far as new games, I keep in touch with it. I have some favorite series. Someone in your chat mentioned Fallout. I'm a huge Fallout fan. I love Fallout. I'm in the middle of a fitful Fallout 4 run again. I keep getting sucked back into it because I keep getting sucked back into Fallout 4. So I've not seen the series yet, and I cannot wait. I'm gonna dedicate some time to see it.
Nice.
So Fallout's a series I love, and I follow that one. New Vegas is a top 5 game for me of all time.
I never gave it the time that I need to give it. So I that's actually been on my list for, I don't know, it feels like forever. Fallout. Yeah. I've played like little bits here and there with people, but never like sat down and like dove into it, really like understood, the experience for what it's intended to be. So
anything that allows me to wander around and discover things and just walk into a room and there's like some interactive, there's that storytelling. I'm a big BioShock fan. So I love anything that's that style of game too. I love BioShock. That's my love it. But yeah, I can't wait to check out the Fallout series.
I've heard good things. I've seen it every time I log on to Amazon. Is it Amazon? It must be an Amazon.
It's an Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's a Prime series. Yeah, Rick B. Fallout New Vegas was the best in the series, and that's not even close. It's amazing. It's amazing. Now I want to play. Every time I talk about Fallout, I want to play New Vegas again. I'm like, I gotta do another run. It's time to do another run. Who are my companions? Let's go.
I'll definitely have to check that out then. Now's the time, because sometimes I need that extra push. So if there's a series, and I'm still behind on. I didn't watch the latest season of Halo yet. Did you ever get into Halo? Because that would have been
that was I never had an Xbox, so Halo is something I just never got into. I bought the collection on Steam. It was like on sale for like $15 one day, and it's like 5 Halo games. Yep. I bought it, but I had yet to install or do anything. It gets to be more or less the same thing. The more that you get into it, and
advance through the different games. But the first two for me are absolutely phenomenal, and then it does start to trail off there for a while. But it's pretty cool. I didn't get into it's funny with the series though, and I think that's how it is with anything. If you're used to a game and they put out a movie or a TV show, it's tough for me to get into it because with Halo, I got into it like the last episode, and then it was done, and then they
Right.
went on hiatus, and now I feel like for me to get into season two, I got to go back and watch season one, and I know that there's that slow start up there where you have to kind of get through it. So
Yep.
the only reason I have Xbox One is for Halo. Yeah, I mean that.
People love it. I again,
Yeah,
it's a series I never
it had
really
a good
got into.
storyline. Like everything was really good about the original two, I'd say. And then, as it typically does with any series, it starts to kind of, I don't know, lose steam, I suppose. But yeah, it is certainly has its place in history for games.
Totally.
Are there any games like that for you that are like a big part of your childhood or your past with gaming?
Yeah, I have a few touch points. The first one for me would be Super Mario Brothers 2. The
It's a
American
good one. I
first Super
mean,
Mario Brothers 2. I adore Super Mario Brothers 2. I defend that game to the death in various forms and on various podcasts and various situations.
hmm
That was a game. That was one of the first games I bought with my own money. Like I
okay,
saved up for it, and my
yeah,
mom went to Radley's in New Jersey and got me like a copy of Mario 2. And it took her like months because when that game was released, there was a major shortage. Like you could not find Mario 2 for months and months and
really,
months. So it took me like 6 months to get my hands on Mario 2. And
wow,
I remember playing. I still play it to this day. Every once in a while, if I'm at like a gaming convention and they have Mario 2 playing, I'll sit down and play through it, like speed run it, half an hour and be done with it. Just because it's so much fun to play Mario 2.
yeah,
Another game like that, Super Metroid. I
it's a
didn't
good one.
realize I did. It's my second favorite game of all time.
Okay.
First being Mega Man X. Mega Man X is my 100%
That
favorite
is
game
another good one. All right, so good,
because
good
it's
taste,
just.
good taste.
Thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, just a lot of those touch points. Another one for me that's more modern to be Portal. I
Okay.
love Portal, and my wife and I connected over Portal. My wife is not a gamer of any sort. She likes
hmm
games, but she doesn't play them a lot. But
Yeah.
Portal, for some reason, is something we just got into together. And so I'll tell the story. We used to play hockey together, and it was a Sunday. It was the Sunday after a game or something like that, and we had gone out the night before, and we were, let's just say, we were very, very not feeling well after an
Yeah.
evening of revelry. We were like
Sure.
dying on the couch. And I'm like, Jay, I had this game poured. You want to play it? She's like, as long as the curtains are closed. I'm like, okay, let's play. Let's play. So we start playing Portal, and we play the whole thing.
Wow.
But took us much longer than you would expect Portal to take. Because Portal you can get through in like 5 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Way longer when you're struggling with a
I
little
can
bit of an
imagine.
impairment. But it was cool. We had like one little bonding moments. We played Portal together, so that's still a game we enjoy and play together. So
That's good. That's good. It's
Portal's
always
up
good to
there.
have that. Yeah, my wife's not much of a gamer at all either. But we played this was a few years ago NBA Jam on Fire Edition, which was like
Mhm.
so it was released to Xbox. I think it was put out to a few, but Xbox 360. So you can actually still get it through your modern day Xbox or whatever. It's one of the few backwards compatible games. But she would just absolutely murder me in that game. It was a tough one, tough pill for me to swallow. But she would play as like Larry Bird, who would
Uh-huh.
just make a three from mid court
Sure.
every
Because
time, no
Larry
problem.
Bird.
Yeah. So
Love
yeah,
it.
that was the so Metroid. Did you ever get into Metroid for GameCube, or was that
Oh
too
yeah.
far?
Oh no,
Okay, because those are good.
yeah,
Those are good
the
titles.
next series for my podcast, which again, if you weren't here at the beginning, I do a retro gaming podcast called The Gamer Looks at 40. I'll just do a quick plug if you don't mind, just
No,
to catch people
absolutely,
up.
absolutely.
Basically, it's the history of video games as told through the stories of the people who lived it and played it. So every main episode could have up to like 14 different people on the show telling stories about why they love these certain games, and it tries to get to the heart and soul of gaming as opposed to the nuts and bolts, right? The emotional stories, those personal stories, the things you can't argue, right? A lot of the internet's about arguing. You can't argue
Yeah,
someone's personal recollection of a game or their
right.
history with it.
Sure.
So it kind of tries to tell those stories, and almost like this like audio documentary style thing. So the next big series I'm going to do is going to be on Metroid because I love Metroid. It's a
Nice.
formative series. So
Well,
right
there's
now in the
great
middle of
history
Final
there
Fantasy,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to do the Metroid series. That'll be the next
Awesome.
one.
Awesome.
Love
That'll
it.
be a really good one. So you mentioned, and we talked about this before we kind of kicked things off here. You went on a little hiatus from doing
Yep.
your podcast for a little while. So tell me a little bit about that. How come you decided to take? It was 3 months that you took
3 months.
off,
3 months.
just for
Yep.
sanity, because we do have
Well,
to preserve that every once in a while.
yeah. Well, it got to a point. I was in the middle of. I did a Legend of Zelda series last year, and I basically took a solid 6 months to get through every Legend of Zelda game, all the main ones. And I did at least one
Even
episode.
the recent
Yep, up
ones.
to Breath of the Wild. I did not do Tears of
Okay.
the Kingdom. It wasn't out
Okay.
yet when I was
Okay.
doing it.
Okay.
I'll probably do Tears of the Kingdom as like an add-on for it. And if
Yeah,
you go to
that'd
my
be cool.
website, agamerlooksit40.com, there's a section for full series, the playlist of the Zelda episodes. If you want to check
Awesome.
those out, like in a playlist form and just binge them, I think it's a really good snapshot of the Zelda games. So anyway, after that, I was kind of out of stuff because my show is
Hmm.
dependent on interviews and like
Yeah.
keeping the interview train rolling because it's not just like two people talking. And
Sure.
I kind of like was like around November of last year, and I'm like, you know what? I think I just need to take a break from
Yeah.
interviewing and from doing the show. It's a very labor intensive show, and just take a break. And I decided 3 months worked because it was 1 month for the Christmas of last year, just to take that December off, like just play games, catch up on some
Yeah.
stuff, play Vampire Survivors, like just chill.
Right.
And then January and February was recording interviews for the return in March because I needed to store up my interviews again.
Hmm.
So it was really like a month off, but the show was absent for 3 months while I stored up more interviews to
Gotcha.
create the shows that are now being released.
Sure. And it's tough to get people to, to commit to doing the interviews and all that stuff too.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot, and I'm very lucky that I've had a lot of friends who've been very generous with their time. I've had some really fun guests on. Again, another another episode I recommend if you're new to my podcast would be I don't know the numbers in the 50s. I think it's called "The Search for the Nintendo Power Grand Prize Winner." One day I had an idea. I'm like, huh, remember the Nintendo Power contests? Like
Yeah.
you'd
Yep.
win Bill and Ted's car, or you win
Yeah.
like this
Yep.
thing.
I remember.
Like, who actually won those things? Because they'd always
Hmm.
announce the winners in the next issue.
Yeah. Yep.
So I went through and I made an Excel sheet and I started writing down the names and states of every single winner. And I just started trying to find them. I just like randomly searching John Smith from,
Yeah.
Sheboygan, and I sent some emails out and got very few responses back. And then
Sure.
finally, I got one person who responded back and said, "Yes, I am the person who won a trip to the set of RoboCop 2 from Nintendo
Really.
Power." And I got him on the show and we interviewed him. And it's one of my favorite
I got to find
episodes
that.
because
That is
it
awesome.
he tells the full story of how they contacted him and they made a whole
Hmm.
weekend out of it. Like they treated him good.
That's
And it was
awesome.
really cool because he's just a regular dude,
Yeah.
who I just unearthed, and it's a really cool story. It's one of those I'm
That's
proud of.
awesome to see it actually pan out because I would imagine just going down the rabbit hole and never
I,
finding anybody.
I was
That's
very
awesome that
disheartened. It took months to like just
I
start,
believe it.
send
Yeah.
these emails out and just poke at people and see. And Vampire Survivors is how the best I describe it. It's like a pixel art retro style game where you play as basically it's a single stick shooter, I would say. All you have to do is move a character around a large field, and the character will shoot the weapon auto shoot for you. And each character has its own different weapons. And at first, you think this is the most boring thing on the face of the planet. And the goal is to get through 30 minutes, like a roguelike. So the idea is that as you continue and your timer ticks down, more and more enemies come. And as you collect gems from the fallen enemies, you get more powers. More powers, more powers, more powers. You level your weapons. So you can have either 6 weapons going at the same time and 6 items. And when you get to like 10, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, the screen is flooded with enemies. You have laser beams going every which way. When you first start, you're throwing a knife like this.
Wow.
You're just doing that. And you're like, this is boring. Give it like 2 hours. It's the most addictive thing. It's one of those games where when you lose, you're like, I gotta get back in. One more run. Come on, one more run, Vampire Survivors. And it goes insane, crazy places. It's an absolute blast. You just gotta hang with it for that first like hour. Because you'll be sitting there going like, what is this? This is boring.
Yeah.
But as you start collecting gems and powering up and you can see
There you
how
go.
everything rolls,
Builds
it's
on upon
wonderful.
itself. Wow.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I gotta. There you go. You converted him. He's gonna check it out.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's a retro style game, and again, you can play with one hand, and it's just literally moving the character around because it auto shoots. But you have to make decisions on what items to upgrade and things like that.
I've heard a lot of people playing it,
It's
so it's
fantastic.
definitely popular, and it's
Fantastic.
on Xbox. There we go,
Everything it is
Xbox
on
Cloud. Sweet,
everything. It's on, and it's the best $6 you could spend because it's $6 and all the DLC now comes with it, and it's insane.
sweet.
It's a great game.
And we do have the giveaway ending in 2.5 minutes. So jump on there. There's the link right there, but it should be pinned up at the top as well. So if you guys did not enter, go ahead and enter to win that because it's a pretty sweet. I got it.
You have
right
four
here.
characters, Vito, that you can start with. So you have four characters that have different. So there's a barbarian that has the knife, and everything looks like Castlevania. So everything is designed like Castlevania characters, including the enemies. It's kind of funny. One is like a wizard that will shoot a projectile that will find the nearest person. So each weapon has its own behavior. The knife just goes straight in the direction you're facing. There's like four you start with. There are literally, I think, 60 or 70 characters you can unlock at this point now by doing different challenges and going different rounds and doing all sorts of crazy stuff and finding secrets. There's hundreds of secrets in it. It's
Wow,
amazing. It's
and
just,
are they still developing it and doing like updates to it and stuff?
Yep, they're
Very
still
nice.
updating it. They're still releasing
Nice.
patches with content. The most
Awesome.
I think they had one DLC that was paid, and I think all their other updates have been free. They just keep releasing new stuff. They just
Well,
had a release
in
a
this
couple
day and
months ago.
age, that is hard to come by.
It's
So
amazing. The developers of that game are amazing, and they are really good to their community. They keep just building stuff on this game. It's so good and fun. Yeah, I think you can literally have. I think there's like 100 characters you can upload. You can do that with.
Smash TV. There we go. That's
There you go. God, I could use a piece of cheesecake now. Man, tomorrow's gonna happen. I'm like, Jim, we gotta go to Bitterman's and get some cheesecake. Let's make it happen.
There you go.
Boom. I make it happen.
It all comes back to Heck and Steve. He was on and he brought up the cheesecake and that it was off from there. So
I love it.
I'm glad that you knew what it was though. You knew about the cheesecake.
Yep.
You know.
Oh yeah, I prepped.
be
I
aware.
prepped. I had it on my like a cheesecake in big letters. I'm
Cheesecake. There you go. Yeah, because anytime I have a guest on, and I have another one coming on next week, I always have to be like, all right, wait a second, let me explain the cheesecake here because it's always like cheesecake in the live chat. So it's interesting what people gravitate towards and
hey, listen, it's cool. Works for me. It's delicious. It is.
Bill
delicious.
did his homework. He did. Smart man. Otherwise, I mean, that's a weird one for sure. I remember I had Retro Ralph on. He was like, "What's the deal with the cheesecake?" But we haven't had anybody that doesn't like cheesecake. If we ever get anybody that's like lactose intolerant or doesn't want cheesecake, we're gonna have to just boot them like you booted me earlier.
That's right.
Look,
my that big red button that says boot on it.
There you go.
I didn't realize
we're taking over
every situation, but I'm glad I tried.
I want a cheesecake t-shirt. My wife was telling me the other day, she's like, you should do merch. Merch is something that I'm like, why would anybody want like merch from my channel? Like I never got the merch thing. I have like, there's some things that you can do, where, you know, it's like all bundled together, like, services where they produce shirts for you. And I have links to those. I don't think anybody's ever bought any of that stuff. And it's not something I've ever been interested in, but she was like, you should do like a logo with cheesecake. People would love that. I don't know, but maybe if anything, it would be for me. Like a slice of cheesecake T-shirt would be like the big hit for me, knowing my luck with.
You should find somebody to do a pixel art cheesecake, like you would find like an item, and it would just say on the bottom "retro cheesecake."
There you go. There you go.
That's all you need. Retro cheesecake. If you want to put retro gaming guy on the shoulder or something, that's the T-shirt. I would absolutely buy a retro cheesecake T-shirt. That would happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, it always blew my mind when you see like channels that have like this massive like catalog of merch and stuff like that. Unless you're like Mr. Beast, where like it clearly makes sense. I'm sure he's doing like $1 billion in merch sales, but I just never understood it for like channels and stuff. But
yeah, it's
I'm being proven wrong here. Some people want trucker hat. All right, well we can make something like that happen. There we go.
Trucker hat. Yep.
There you go. But yeah, I just never, and I have. Back when I was the Retro Pie guy, I made a couple hoodies for myself, and I'm still wearing the old ones. So,
perfect.
Yeah, it shows I'm not too savvy when it comes to the merch, but I know for some people it's a big thing. I never personally understood.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of setup for not a big return. And again, I'm not a designer, so I'd have to find someone to help me actually make the designs and I'd want
Yeah.
them to be, good. I still want
One
to slap a
more,
logo on a thing, but
yeah, one more thing that eats up time and doesn't
very
probably
limited.
wouldn't pan out is my outlook on it. But
Yeah,
all right, so
shout out to real quick to from Vito. Joey did design the logo for my show. He did. He designed the
awesome,
logo for my show, and so Joey, he was a champ on that, and and I
awesome.
love it. I've gotten compliments on it, and it's
It is a nice logo. I'll
appreciate it.
certainly give you that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all Joey. I have no design skills whatsoever.
nice. Yeah, I like his designs. He does some nice stuff. Good color
Yes.
schemes, for sure.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to draw the winner here
Do
for
it.
the M18 handheld. Right, so it always makes me update a couple things here, so bear with me, guys.
No worries, man. I've seen advertising for this M18 retro handheld, and it looks really sweet.
It
I don't
is
know if
pretty
you've got
cool. It is
have you
pretty
had your
cool. I
hands
mean,
on it, or
I do, yeah. It struggles with the higher end stuff, of course, which is pretty typical
right?
for those entry level handhelds. But it's one of those where, like, if it's not Ambernick or Powkitty has some decent ones too. But usually when we have handhelds come out of left field, they don't pan out. And this one's actually pretty sweet layout and design. It's larger scale too, which is pretty cool. So I mean, obviously, if you're looking for something that's going to handle like N64 perfectly, it's not going to be, it's not going to do that for you. But for the retro, your average retro stuff, it's phenomenal. So the winner is Dustin Meyer. So I'm going to
Dustin,
copy
well
it over
done.
here, drop you
Congrats,
into the
man.
live chat. So that is awesome. So for Dustin Meyer, I will send you an email probably later today, get your shipping address, and I'll get that sent right out to you. But yeah, Powkitty 55, sweet. Yeah, there's some really great, and there's a lot of handhelds coming out these days too. Like Ambernick puts out new handhelds, I feel like every 6 weeks. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but they
Sure.
put out a lot of
Yeah.
handhelds.
Yep.
And I do like that. I feel like they're making advancements now because for a while, they've been doing this for a long time, but for a while, I felt like they were just like, we'll change like the slightest little, beveled edge or something, and they'd put out a new design because I feel like they were inexpensive enough where people would just buy them
Right.
just to like collect them, it seemed.
Mhm.
Because if you looked at like the specs, there was no difference to so many of them. But now I feel like they are making at least some differences there. The booty handheld, that's right. It's got the cheeks, as I say, on the back, which are great because it gives you something to grab onto. And
Something to grip.
and usually I'll show you. I mean, they're provocative. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Usually you get like those little non-skid strips on the back, but I mean,
That
it's
is
it's
that
it's I've never seen
that's
anything quite like it, but it gives you
that's
something to hold on
ample.
to.
That's ample.
There
That's
you
good.
go. There you go. So I know Vito is enjoying this one a lot.
Right on,
I think
man.
he'd probably dress his up a little bit, but you know,
Nice,
just
man.
what every man needs. There you go. Something to grab a hold of. There you go. There you go. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet little handheld there, and that's one of the things I think that we just have to remember that as long as it can handle some stuff, the retro stuff, that's the focus.
Yeah.
Everybody wants, I'd love to be able to play Xbox on it, but that's never going to happen, So,
Unless you want to spend a boatload of money, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. And even Xbox that was a bad example because their emulation is pretty tough anyways, but
rough, yeah.
yeah, that's how it goes.
I do a
Yeah,
lot of emulation on my Steam Deck, and I love it. I've played up to Dreamcast games on it,
hmm
and never didn't have a problem. I don't think I
yeah.
played anything past the Dreamcast game,
You
but
could do a lot more on there. You could do PS2 easy, GameCube,
oh,
PS3 will actually work. Some PS3 will work.
I did
Yeah.
GameCube on it too. I played Wind Waker
Okay.
on it, and it
Okay.
was fine. There was no
Yeah.
problems at all. Ran it
Yeah.
beautifully. So I love my Steam Deck. Steam Deck to me is just man,
It's awesome. It
so
is.
good.
I had one. I ended up getting rid of it just because I just didn't use it as a handheld because anytime I'm on the go, I have my kids and I'm not gaming. So for me, I had it right next to my gaming PC and I would use it docked all the time. So it was like, all right, why do I even
Oh
have this?
yeah,
Because, in that unique situation, it's like, would you ever choose that, to use it docked versus a full blown gaming PC? No. So that was that was just me. But it
no, I
is
love yeah
certainly capable.
yeah I like because again my wife's not much of a gamer, so I'll sit on the couch and be playing Final Fantasy 9, which I can
Yeah.
play that and have a conversation. I don't have to be
Yeah.
intensely into it.
Right, right.
I've also done streaming off my PS5 on the Steam Deck, and it's great. There's an app you can like you remote play
Yep,
on PS5. It's
yep.
great. I played a
Yeah, I
lot
did
of
that
Horizon
with.
Forbidden West with that, and it was
There you
sometimes
go.
it drops in quality and you get some lagging, but
Sure.
nothing
Yeah,
that's like
I
game
did the
breaking.
same thing with I'm an Xbox guy, so did the same thing with Xbox, but
Yeah,
yeah, it works great, and you can obviously use it. It's funny, I didn't use it with Steam all that much, but when I actually went into my Steam account and played those games, great experience there too. So yeah, very very much capable. So all right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to eat up your entire
oh, I
Friday
got
night here,
no
but
man. It's all good. No worries.
let me
No
see.
worries at all. Yeah, man. Thank you again for having me. This was a lot of fun, and
Yeah,
congrats
no,
to
it's
Dustin
great.
again for winning that console, man. You
Yeah,
said
no, I'll send him that email and we'll get that shipped out hopefully tomorrow if he if I get that out to him today. But yeah, I just want to make sure everybody is aware that I gave the links to all of his stuff in the description of this video. So definitely check out his podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40, because it's phenomenal. And to be able to dive into, like I didn't go into the Zeldas too much. I just kind of picked random ones to
yeah,
really dive into. And you just have a great way of diving into this and to giving an experience to these games that I just don't think a lot of people do it in that way. They'll talk about the games, they'll talk about what they liked and stuff, but you collectively bring this entire experience from different perspectives together. So I commend you on what you're doing over there. I mean,
thanks, man. I
it
appreciate
really
it.
is
It's
phenomenal.
yeah, it's one of those things where I was really trying to do something different. And again, I love podcasts and shows where people talk about
Hmm.
games or review games, and I
Sure.
want to get into the why we like them. That
Yeah.
the why we are into these things is very interesting to me from like a storytelling perspective.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I try to do. And the show is firing on all cylinders. It's talking about the why we fell in love with these things. Not so
For
much,
sure.
yeah, it was fun. Because people have these intense connections. I mean, there was one episode where I have a gentleman who was on who was agoraphobic as a kid. He would never leave his house until he played Legend of Zelda. And Legend of Zelda inspired him to actually leave his house and go exploring. And
Wow.
now he loves to travel, and he credits The Legend of Zelda with helping him get out of that mindset.
Sure.
So again, sometimes it's fun and silly and we're just goofing around, but
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
people get
It's real.
into, talk
It's
about how
interesting because everybody has different experiences, and that is a great way that you've tied all that together. But yeah, and I think that's something that people that kind of judge like gamers or gaming in general forget that it does a lot of good. It's not just
oh,
something that's wasting time. And it's funny, I saw I follow Steve-O, from Jackass. He has a pretty cool podcast that he does on YouTube, and he's been somebody that like has always talked shit about gamers and gaming. And it was interesting because so many people kind of pushed back on him for that because of the fact that I think he's just overlooking how much good that they have done for a lot of people that have struggled with a lot of issues in life, to overcome addiction or to overcome, any sort of issues that they're going through, whether it's physical, mental, or whatever. So I think there's a whole side to gaming that people overlook in that
yeah.
regard.
And yeah, and
And
I think a big part of it too also is gaming is such a new medium. It's new. It's
right,
brand new relatively compared to everything else. And if you can have a song that you fell in love with that you identify with a period of time or a point in time or a movie or a book you read, games can do the same thing and they can have just as much impact, if not more, because you're actually controlling it, you're interacting with it, you're playing it.
sure,
And there's a connection there that's very unique to gaming, which is why I think it's again a fascinating, I'll say art form, but a fascinating hobby and yeah, an art form. So it's been cool to collect these stories, and I'm still doing it, man. So I
that's
do these
awesome.
series that way I don't run out of steams. I got to finish Final Fantasy. Like I now have no choice.
Yeah,
I have no choice but to continue my show until Final Fantasy's done. And I'll
yep,
start a new series, so I'm inspired to keep going. But I appreciate for those in
that's
the
good.
chat who've already said they've subscribed. I appreciate that. I'm on YouTube as well, and this is mainly YouTube, obviously. So there
Yeah,
as well.
for sure, for sure. All right. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on, and shout out to Joe again for connecting us.
Yes.
It's always awesome to get to interact with people that are in the gaming community because it's such a vast community. There's so many people in here.
Totally.
The odds of us bumping into each other without that connection is slim. So it's always refreshing to be able to meet new people, and cool people that are doing cool things as well.
Right
Certainly
on, dude.
doesn't hurt. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
gonna answer a few questions. I know some people had some mini PC questions, but I'll let you go. Thank you so much. Again, everybody check him out on all his socials. You're on more socials than than I'm
Yeah,
on. So
the main ones
definitely
are
check them out.
Yeah, Twitter and TikTok are the main ones, and I have
Yep.
Instagram, there's Facebook, YouTube, so yeah, all the stuff's there. And
Awesome.
again, thank you again for sharing and for promoting and
Absolutely.
having me on,
For
man. This was an
sure.
absolute
Yeah.
blast.
We'll do it again sometime because I
Please
had a
do. I'd love to.
blast talking to you, you
Yeah,
know?
man. I'll tell you more Joey
Uh,
stories when we were growing up.
Perfect. Love it.
I'll come armed with them next time.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot, y'all.
Sounds
Appreciate it.
good. Take care, man.
Right.
All right. All right, guys. Awesome conversation with Bill. Definitely check him out, and you can find all of his information in the description of this, live stream right here. So I listed all those there, but definitely check out his website because I was talking about, just going through his episodes. It's one of those things you can kind of put it on and go about your day doing what you're doing. Really insightful stuff. Really cool to learn about different people's takes on different games, different periods even of gaming. Just really great stuff there. So I did want to just kind of hang back with you guys a little bit more tonight. Got a smaller crowd today, which I always like. I always actually like the more intimate live streams on here. So always good to be able to chat one-on-one with you guys too. So I'm going to hang back for a few minutes. Anybody had any questions or anything like that? I know early on when we started talking, it was, it's, as always, it's tough to manage everything. So if anybody has any questions, I know there were a few mini PC questions, just hit me up in the live chat and we'll see if I can help you guys out. So hope everybody's doing well though. Did you guys enjoy Bill's conversation and all that good stuff? Pour me a glass of wine, chat. There you go. And I will send that email over. Joseph, what's going on, man? Been a while. Take care, Jerry. Appreciate you joining us on this Friday evening. And I will be doing some live streams, I think, over the weekend. I got a bunch of stuff too. I did a video for the members here. I've got a bunch of stuff to review, and I actually got a new camera that is sitting right over here. I got to test that out. I'm trying to kick everything up here. Although I will say that the resolution, at least on my end, looks pretty good tonight. But definitely I'm going to be upgrading all the cameras that I'm using here. I'm trying to just take things a little bit higher here on the channel. So always making improvements. And I did do the external graphics over here on this cabinet that you can see over my left shoulder. So still working on that. And I'll have a full video on all that went into that once it's done too. Could tell him some Joey stories. There you go. I got to have Joseph on here too. Joseph actually was on the channel with me. It feels like forever ago now. I wasn't even down here in this little studio space at the time. But we have some videos playing some games together early on in the channel. So got to have you come back over here and do some more. What video card are you using? You know what? I'll pull it up because I bought it on Amazon, and I'll give you the direct link so you have all the specs on hand. But it's NVIDIA, I believe, and it's pretty sweet. It's not like a super high-end gaming PC necessarily, and actually it was a lot more expensive at the time. It's come down in price too. So the only downside is it's a massive setup. It's compared to like a mini PC. I mean, you could stack up probably 30 mini PCs in it if you took all the guts out. So let's see. Yeah, it uses the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Core i5. I'll give you the direct link though, so you can be easier than me rattling everything off. And I believe there's different RAM options. I think I have the 32 gigabyte. I'm not sure. That's one thing that sucks with like older listings on, or when you have orders for, if you're going back in your orders on Amazon, sometimes the listings change. So it can get a little bit tough to follow like what you got in the past because they'll adjust the listings a little bit and the specs sometimes, if they're changing it, change as well. So if your new camera is better at low light, try dimmed background lights to make you pop more. Yeah, that's what, actually I've been doing more of that lately, but yeah, for this one, I kind of let the lights rip a little bit here, but yeah, I didn't even turn, so the WrestleMania cabinet, I can't even turn it on yet because I haven't installed like a PC or anything, but once I get everything situated back there, I'm going to do some dimmed lights in the background and all that as well, so that's a great idea. Been reading on how the Switch emulation scene is falling apart. First Yuzu, now the Suyu team have parted ways. Further Updates are on hold. Yeah, it's crazy. I've been thinking about covering it, but I'll be honest, I've just kind of been like, you know what, I'm going to stay the hell away from all of that right now because, and I think the other day was the first time I've done like yeah, Yuzu demo where I've like included anything in my content because just trying to stay away from it. I think that it's such a controversial thing right now. I think that we're at a point where everybody involved with Yuzu or Suyu or whatever, they probably should just kind of dial it back for a little while, let things kind of die down. I think there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, just fuck Nintendo and just do what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I would tone it down a little bit, let the dust settle. There's no point in having a pissing match with Nintendo because they have the money to sue whoever they want and do whatever they want. It is their stuff at the end of the day. Let's be real about that. So yeah, I wouldn't push it if I were them. I know you're a fan of WrestleFest and was wondering if you played Retro Mania or WWE WrestleFest, the sequel to WWF WrestleFest. You know what? I haven't, and it's strange that I haven't, but I haven't. So yeah, I want to do that. And actually, what I decided I'm going to do with this WrestleMania cabinet here is I'm going to be doing some videos on setting up emulation setups because I want to do, and I talked about this recently in the video I posted for the members here. I want to do some more tutorials geared towards people just getting into emulation. And I know it'll be kind of maybe like content that the people that are really into emulation aren't into because it's just kind of beneath where they're at with, in their stage of getting into this stuff. But for the people just getting started, sometimes I feel like the content, it's tough for them to absorb because we're talking about like advanced stuff now. For people just getting into this stuff, it's really tough to navigate. It's hard to know where to get started, how to get started, what the best, platform is, what the best approach is. So I want to do some more basic tutorials just to get more people into it at affordable price points because you don't need to go in and get a B-Link Sur 7 for, $500 and change, $600 and change. You can get a $100 PC and have a great emulation experience. So I want to do some more videos highlighting that end of things. But I want to do over here a cabinet with just wrestling games because I already have a setup right next to it, which it's hard for you guys to see, the Indiana Jones cabinet there. I've got a bunch of stuff on there ready to go. I also have a T2 cabinet here for light gun games. So I wanted to just do wrestling games on there and show people how easy it is to actually set up something strictly dedicated to what they're into. So in that case, retro wrestling games, I could put everything on there: NES, Super Nintendo, Dreamcast, arcade, all that stuff, all the way through, depending on what mini PC I put in there. And I'll probably put a pretty decent one in there. I could even put GameCube games in there, PS2, maybe even some PS3 games if I can get those working with arcade controls. So I want to, do some stuff like that. And let me jump in here. That's right, Joseph. We'll definitely do something. I want to bring you into one of these live streams too. It's always a good time when we get together and chat. Now we're both dads. We both have. It's funny. I've known Joe for Joey and I. When did we meet, Joey? 2010 maybe 2009. I think it was 2009. So we've known each other a long time. When we met, neither one of us had any kids, and now we have kids that are like pretty much the same ages. It's crazy how that all kind of worked out. So when are you doing a full studio tour? When I stop messing it up. So I'll do one next week, actually. Actually, next week, I'll do one at some point next week. Maybe not next Friday, because I have, actually, speaking on wrestling and gaming, Wrestling with Gaming is coming on, which is probably my all-time favorite YouTube channel. So I'm so excited that he's joining me next Friday. So probably not next Friday, but I'll do something. I'm going to do quite a few live streams. Maybe I'll even do one this weekend, and I'll tour through here because I just went looking for a cable the other day and I totally trashed the whole corner over there. But I'll clean it up a little bit, and it's relatively, somewhat put together at the moment, but everything behind me is nice and tidy for the most part. So we're halfway there. Yeah, I have a bunch of I'm not a collector, but I'll grab random stuff that I come across. I don't have a set collection of stuff, but the Indiana Jones gold Funko up there, I happened to find it, had to get it. I have some old wrestling figurines that if I stumble across them, I pick them up. I'm not a really true collector though of anything. Yeah, I gotta check that out for sure. What is it, a PC game? I gotta look it up. It's probably one of those that I've actually seen, but I'm so bad with like remembering names and all that stuff. Retro Mania. Oh, okay. Oh, sweet. I gotta watch this video. Available in the next update. Here comes the Smasher. That looks awesome. Sweet. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum TA. Magnum TA looks on point too. Yeah, that looks really awesome. Oh, so we would be able to bring this into a cabinet pretty easily then. Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch. All right. Well, it'll give me something to mess around with for sure. That looks great. This is true. It's like that with everything now. A 4-up. There we go. Yeah. For me, it's like I've talked about this with Vito. Like he's got this awesome arcade cabinet, but for me, it's like I like the biggest win for me is like having the graphics and having it look like the original cabinet. So that's half the experience because I don't get on these as often as like my kids play these a lot more than I even do. Aside from the light gun game, I've put a lot of time into the light gun cabinet here, but yeah, for me, it's the experience of just like looking at it and it just taking me back to being in the arcade back in the day. So yeah, it goes a long way just having like the graphics and the setup being there more so than even, powering it on and actually playing through it sometimes. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, probably. I mean, what are you using right now? I don't know if you mentioned that before. So the B-Link Server 5 Pro Max can play Switch, PS2, PS1. Yes, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, I think I reviewed that one, right? They all do blend together with me sometimes. I remember like the last few. So sometimes I have to go back and actually watch my own videos, as weird as that is. But yeah, Switch really isn't that demanding. Some of the titles are. It's hit or miss. Like I can get into some Switch titles on like a $150 mini PC, believe it or not. In fact, on the Indiana Jones cabinet here, I have a boss game mini PC. It was 100 and last time I saw it was 139 bucks. That can play like Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled pretty much perfectly. But there are some titles that are just beyond what it can handle. So it's, title by title, it can be hit or miss. So yeah, if you went with the, more high end one with better specs, then yeah, you should be able to play through the majority of your Switch titles there. But Switch emulation can be, dicey as well, especially now where, if you make the mistake of updating, I'd imagine you're going to run into problems because they've discontinued, everything over there. So like I'm getting notices now to update and update and update, and I'm nervous about that because I actually updated the Batocera drive that I had in the indie cabinet back here, and of course, Switch no longer works, but I do have a backup that I can just reflash over. Yeah, that's what I have on my other one there. Like the game drive I just checked out yesterday. All the emulators on the Retrobat side are not the latest version. They're like several versions behind, but the games play fine. So if the games are still playing well, there's no reason to go in and even try to update stuff, even the ones that you could update without, having the issue, like with Yuzu or the Wii U emulator there. So yeah, Launchbox is nice. I like Launchbox for the higher end stuff too. I think it runs really well. I like going in through Windows, but for me, like with the more retro stuff, and especially being in an arcade cabinet, I like to just be able to boot straight from the drive into Batocera, not having to go through Windows. So it just depends on what I'm using as to what I prefer. Games parts. I don't believe so, no. Exactly. That's always what I tell people. You know, if you're, I know a lot of people that just want to always have the latest and greatest, but the latest isn't always the greatest. And I ran into that early on when I got into emulation with RetroPie. Back then, they used to fire out updates all the time, and the updates would like constantly focus on one thing. It would make that one thing better, and it would fuck up like 10 other things. So then you had to wait for the next update to come along to fix those 10 other things, and then it would just mess up 10 other things somewhere else. So it was like this constant cycle of, you know, wait, hurry up and wait, and then wait for the next thing to fix what you just messed up on the last update. And I felt like months would go by sometimes before you actually had everything back to where it was, you know, 5 updates before. And I back then, before light guns, you know, before the light gun experience was what it is now, I remember having no light guns for like a month because an update killed everything that you know, that was working so well, and then they had to do, I think, like 2 updates to fix everything. It was just a mess. So yeah, that soured me on updating. Exactly. You know what? I've never done it. And I've talked about this because I have the virtual pinball machine right here. And it came with all the games on there. I've never changed anything on there. It's on my list to actually back up the SSD that it's running off of and then go in and try to like tweak things, because I've never done anything with virtual pinball other than powering this guy on and playing through. I've played almost all the tables on here at this point. I've had this for a couple of years, but there are a couple tables, like there's a Guns N' Roses table that I love. I believe that was from Data East back in early 90s, and it's an awesome table, but I have no sound on the version that I have in here. So I want to go in and update that at least, get that working. But I'm, of course, afraid that I'm going to mess something up. So I just got to copy the SSD first, just so I have a backup, and then, you know, I could dive into it. But finding the time to do that has been a challenge, because I've got like, I was just going through it yesterday, I think 6 videos that 6 videos worth of stuff right over here that I'm going to dive into hopefully in the next couple of days. I have a bunch of stuff coming to me. So yeah, I do a lot of content on here, so I'm always super busy and playing catch up on things. So, but I will be doing some more live streams this weekend. I'm probably do one tomorrow night, I think, depending on how into UFC I am tomorrow night. It does look like a pretty good card, but either tomorrow night or Sunday night, I'll do a live stream diving into the next mini PC, which I have over here. What else do I have? I've got a portable monitor that you can actually turn into a handheld console, which is really cool. I can't wait to dive into that. And then some more of those like entry-level setups that I want to highlight for people just getting into emulation. The B-Link Sur 6, you know what? If you can get it at a good price, I would go with that, because I really love the Sur 6 Max was my favorite for a long time, and then Sur 7 came along. It is slightly better, but even in my video review for that, I mentioned that I still at that point in time thought that the Sur 6 Max was the better option just because of the price difference. I think that the prices have dropped though a little bit, so just look at like the Sur 7 versus the Sur 6 Max, see if the price difference is massive or not. At the time, I think it was like $230, and I didn't think it was worth the $230 extra for the Sur 7, but the Sur 6 Max is sweet, and I would imagine the price has dropped a little bit since then. So UFC this weekend is UFC 300, so it's a big one. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, Weili Zhang against Yan. I'm not even going to try to say her last name. Justin Gaethje's fighting Max Holloway. Charles Oliveira's fighting Arman. What else? I think Mo Nickel has a fight. Actually, going to look it up right here. Oh, wow. They got Yuri Prohaska as a preliminary fight against Alexander Rakic. Forget how to pronounce his name. Calvin Kadar versus Aljamain Sterling. Wow. Holly Holm and Kayla Harris in the prelim fight. Wow, the prelims are actually looking better than the main card. Money Moicano's fighting in the early prelims. Jessica Andrade's fighting Marina Rodriguez in the early prelims. Bobby Green against Jim Miller in the early prelims. Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo in the early prelims. Wow. Yeah, I like the early prelims and the prelims better than the main card tomorrow. So yeah, I probably won't be live streaming tomorrow night. That looks like a pretty sweet card there. But yeah, I'll do one for sure on Sunday then. Just testing out some of these mini PCs once I start filming. There you go. Yeah, so if the Sur 7 is on sale, definitely check out the difference because they're comparable. I mean, the Sur 7 specs are a little bit ahead of the Sur 6 Max, but not $230 worth. So I would just look at the price points right now and gauge it from that. Nice. Well, it's better than paying the what are the pay-per-views up to now? Like 100 and something bucks, $100. Gaethje. Yep. He's got the BMF belt. I think, right? Yeah, he beat Dustin for it. I'm not mistaken, last fight. Maybe that was 2 fights ago, I forget. Yeah, I mean, been boxing forever too. That causes the same issues. But yeah, I mean, they get rattled. I guess it's, I don't know, I feel like the wrestlers get it worse though, because they're doing that stuff like multiple times a week. Yeah, they're not taking as many hard hits to the face and stuff, but they're taking the bumps on the mat and they're still getting, the concussions and all that stuff. So I feel like, the fighters in UFC are only fighting like twice a year in most cases, if that. Some only fight once every year and a half. So I guess you kind of, I don't know. I think that they say that it's not as bad as some of the other sports where they're just go, go, go all the time. But yeah, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. They have hard heads. There you go. And they may not be the brightest guys to begin with. Just saying, maybe. I don't know. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. But yeah, I'll definitely be on. Probably not tomorrow now that I look at the UFC card in detail. But I'll shoot for Sunday night unless UFC just kind of tanks and I get sick of it. We'll see. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff I want to dive into. So at the very least, I'll be filming tomorrow night. So, all right, guys. Well, take it easy. Thank you guys, as always, for hanging out and enjoying the time with Bill tonight. Always a good conversation there. And I think I'll have him on again in the future because it was just great having the conversation back and forth. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for the support, as always. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys real soon.